I would describe Ethel Cain's oeuvre, the average Ethel Cain album, as being something like Lana Del Rey and the ghost of SoundCloud rapper Lil Peep having to collaborate with one another on adapting a William Faulkner novel. That may not make sense to some of you, but let's overanalyze her a bit more, shall we? Ethel's lyricism reminds one of confessional poetry. I mean that as a compliment. A lot of lyricists try and pack in as many impactful imagery and metaphor into every line as much as possible. I partially blame Kanye West for this, but with Ethel, she'll have these plain, simple statements, perhaps relating to the Protestant aesthetics of her albums, that really speak to the inner turmoil of her characters. For instance, the chorus for the opening track of her first album reads, "These crosses all over my body remind me of who I used to be. And Christ forgive these bones I've been hiding, oh, and the bones I'm about to leave." Yeah. Now, the obvious image there of the crosses all over her body could relate to somebody with a bunch of Christian tattoos. It's really interesting that tattooing has become such a strong tradition in Protestant Christian circles, considering that the Old Testament forbids these sorts of skin markings, probably for health reasons. But it's this idea of the sinful action cleansing the body of the sin that was already latent in it. We're also reminded of this with the lines about the bones, "And Christ forgive these bones I've been hiding, oh, and the bones I'm about to leave." Yeah, meaning the bones in her own body and potentially the bones of a lost lover. We also can't forget the role that music plays in Southern Protestant Christian circles. One of the earliest contributions from Protestantism to the world art tradition was the compositions of the composer Bach. And the idea of music, sound, just this direct connection to God, coming from your body and out into the heavens. It's a direct statement, very different from the illuminated manuscript tradition in Christianity or any of the other grand art traditions, which would take years of apprenticeship before one can master. Anybody can sing, and therefore anybody can tell their story, like Ethel's ghost. The ghost and singing as a connection to the afterlife or even to God reminds me of a statement made by the music critic Greil Marcus while he was discussing the rhythm and blues tradition in early 20th century and late 19th century America. Most of the people in the earliest recordings that we have are not given names. They were taken by random ethnomusicologists who traveled throughout the Americas and recorded these songs, many of them religious tunes carried over from the British Isles or even the Celtic or German tradition, to be sang in these new lands, America. We don't know the writers of these songs. They go back hundreds of years. So it's a collective unconsciousness speaking to us through this small group of voices recorded hundreds of years ago. It's very strange to listen to old blues music and think, I'm listening to a ghost right now. It's the same feeling you get when you're listening to Ethel. That feeling that you're listening to a ghost is what Greil Marcus called the true phantoms of American arts and letters. Ethel Cain, or rather her creator, Hayden, has given us a name to one of these phantoms. And through her story, we get a universal Southern Gothic, tragic epic. It's also interesting to note the level that lore plays in her music in comparison to previous generations of pop stars. This is partially because her music has come up in the age of the internet. We have 2-hour Five Nights at Freddy videos that tell you every detail about how the cupcake relates to William Afton and his many crimes. Ethel uses the same type of lore droppings in her work. Ethel is therefore connecting the first phantom age of American arts and culture to this new phantom age that we have, the internet phantom age, where anons can create memes that become images as iconic as some of our best known paintings to contemporary audiences.